So, hello, my dear friends. This is your friend C. Jatin Agarwal, and I hope you are enjoying this Type 1 to Salary series. So, today we are going to cover various case study questions. These case study questions are asking by various companies like FMCG companies. These are specifically asked for alliance interviews. These are asked. So, please do prepare these questions, and because this will provide a business acumen to a chartered accountant. These are such type of questions that how a business runs and how to answer the business oriented question if a company asks the same in any interview. So let's see that how these questions can be answered. So your first question is that suppose you are doing a audit. So and you are superheading a audit assignment, and you have a team of 10 people. So how would you complete the audit assignment in a given time frame? That's the question. The answer should be like you have to give answer on your practical approach, that how practically would we do the audit. They want to understand that if you have done the audit practically, or if you understand how audit is being done, so you have to answer that way. Like first point, pre-audit planning. as uh, we go as we read in our books also, that before audit we have to do some pre-audit planning. So this include, we have to understand the scope objectives of audit and gather some background information about the entity's financials, its internal controls, and the industry standards. Then we have to assess the risk and identify what can go wrong, identify the high risk areas, and what to discuss with the key stakeholders present in the entity. So we have to do this initial work. Secondly, we have to basically develop an audit plan, and we have to basically build a strategy how we would proceed in this audit. We have to build a team, so that we'll do. Then we'll assign the team by considering the risk and materiality which we have assessed earlier. So you better know that how to assess the materiality. I've also covered this in statutory audit questions, that how do we assess the materiality considering the asset, considering the income of the enterprise, depending on the which type of company it is. Then we will assign team also in the various areas which are there in our scope, like cash and bank reconciliations, accounts receivables and payables, our revenue side, inventory and COGS side, fixed assets, accounts payables, payrolls, and then finally in the reporting and compliance, which is like financial side. So we'll allocate our resource. We'll plan in such a way that whole team will be allocated in the most optimal manner. Then we'll execute the audit. We'll start the audit. We'll conduct an initial meeting that how to proceed, and then we'll do field work. Means after doing a basic research, we'll go to the client place, and or we'll connect with the client over calls and do the actual workings. Then, as you are leading this assignment, you have to review that you have to continuously review that work, that how the team is doing that audit, what is the progress, and what major areas they are covering, what is the new risk they have identified, how they are acting on the already identified risk, what documentation they are collecting. Like this you have to review. Then you have to communicate basically the status to the senior management, like this data I'm not getting from these persons, or debrief about the team, that you have to hold a debrief from your team with your team, that what is the progress of the audit, like that, what are your problems, what problems you are facing, what can be the possible solutions, like that. Then you have to identify some issues, and from the key issues you have to identify the solutions based on your past experience, based on discussion with the management, and you can develop some recommendations also. Then finally, after you have done the audit, there is a reporting requirement for audit, so you have to prepare a draft report. Then you will review the same, discuss with the management, then you will finalize. Then finally there should be exit meeting with the management to discuss the report as well as key actions to be taken in during the period, in the coming period. Then we need to follow up what is the action plan of the company, and what scope of improvement they are doing, so that these similar sort of problems will not be there in the future, like that. So this is the approach to which if you will be assigned in an audit assignment, then you can complete like this way. So you can answer it theoretically, practically, both ways, because actually audit is done this way only. Now next question, that suppose while auditing company you came across a situation in which you have identified a fraud, and and your manager is denying basically. And so they want to understand that what is your acumen, or how would you react in this particular situation, considering your legal regulations behind you and considering the situation which is in front of you. So they want to test based on the situation that how this person would perform. So basically, in this situation, we have to follow the we have to answer based on the return procedures which we have read through during our studies. So that procedure should be like we have to document the findings. We have to prepare detailed documentation of any fraud which we have noticed. Then we have to preserve that evidence so that it can be used at the time of presentation to the top management, presentation to the higher level of managers in the organization. Then we have to understand what's the professional or legal regulation, whether to communicate the same to any external body, there is some legal regulation regarding that or not, or whether we are abide by some code of ethics or not. Then if we are abide by the same, whether we are following that or not. So these sort of questions we need to ask from ourselves, and we have to reply basically during that interview. Then we'll then my answer would be that I would escalate it internally and discuss with the manager why he don't want to disclose it to the top management, what is his intention. And if you are satisfied with that and you have documentary evidence regarding that, then it is okay, else you'll escalate the matter internally towards higher level of management in your organization itself. Then if suppose you are abide by any situation, you are not getting any favorable opinion from other person, then you will seek external guidance, external consultancy with any other professional body, or by keeping in mind the confidentiality. And then if like we are in a situation that we need to whistleblow, then we need to whistleblow, and then we'll also we obliged by some legal regulations, we'll comply ourselves with the laws, and we'll protect ourselves also. We'll do the necessary actions that is needed in that particular situation. So like this, you can answer the situational question. Now, next question, that similar sort of question which we have discussed in question number 2. So you can do it, go through this also. Now, next question, that suppose you are analyzing a company which is very highly valued, and despite its profits are going down. So basically, while analyzing the situation and while analyzing that company, what are the various key concerns or key considerations which you need to go through? That what are the various reasons for such high valuations? So potential reasons can be like, firstly, growth potential may be present in that company, or the business model is viable, future profitability might be there. So you can consider based on two factors. Firstly, your market expectation, that the high valuation may be due to the investors are showing stock expectation from the growth and profitability of the company in the future, or the business model of the company is very viable, like just like the startup companies, e-commerce companies, quick commerce companies. Secondly, the revenue trends, because I discussed that basically startup companies is valued morely on basis of revenue, not on the basis of profits. So revenue trends might be increasing very high, and the market position of the company is in such a position that in future it will lead it to earn good amount of profit. This might be the case. Then it might be that you have to do some cash flow analysis, that even the company is suffering losses, then in that situation also cash flows might be positive, or you have to assess the burn rate, whether it is actually decreasing or it is showing any red flag. Then you have to analyze the intangible assets of the company and intellectual property which is there with the company, its valuation is correct or not, and it is significantly is it significantly contributing to the company's valuation. Then if that's the case, then whether it is properly secured, that intangible assets. Then you have to check the any strategic investments or partnerships done by the entity during the year based on which it has been valued on a higher valuation. Then you have to analyze the industry trends and external factors which are there. You can do the P2P, peer-to-peer comparison like that. And finally, you have to assess the management, that whether the leadership quality of the management is such that they have the past trends of creating good companies, and due to which investors are laying more confidence on those management personnel. So like this, you can answer. Now, next question, that your company is having negative operating cash flows, and it is generating good profits as per the P&L, but in cash flow it is deeping negative operating cash flow. So what might be the potential reasons? So reasons might be that it is not able to realize its receivables, it is making advance payment to its suppliers or prepayments to its suppliers. There is inventory buildup in the organization, or it is like making faster payments to the suppliers compared to the customer collections, and it is incurring high non-cash expenses or capital expenditure, or like timing difference might be there in revenue recognition or actual cash receipts, or there might be some changes in working capital components. So based on these points, you can answer that these can be the points which will analyze to resolve this issue, that companies continuously earning good profits, and instead of, and despite all these things and its cash flows are negative. Then there is another question on the fraudulent financial reporting. Suppose you have the financial, these questions are asked like you are giving interviews for BSc, NSc, like that, in which you have to analyze the financial statements of a company. You have to identify any fraudulent financial reporting is present there or not. So you have the PDF file of the entity. So what are the various line items of what information you can seek from the entity to get a more gist of those financial items. So like you can check out these line items. Firstly, I will seek from the entity list of the items capitalized during the year in the financial statements, list of CWIP pending, and what was the additions done during the period, and if the entity has huge investment, then whether impairment has actually been booked or not, if that is applicable to that entity, to that investment. And if non-moving trade receivables are there, then balance information regarding that. We need to check the revenue recognition policy and whether any changes have been done during the year or not. So these points you can mention. And suppose you are being assigned in a situation that you need to identify the fraud, then what are the various factors which you will take into consideration, that whether the fraud is existing in the entity or not. So what are the various indicators basically? So these indicators are like there is change in significant accounting policy during the year or during year on year. There might be adverse ratios of the entity or very high fluctuations in the same. There might be sudden fall in the profits of the company, or any major event or change in industry or competitive landscape, or there might be adverse points in the Karo reporting or non-filing of timely returns, like it was cited in that Baiju case, that it was not filing its financial statements from last 1 or 2 years, or making undue delay in the same. So these are the circumstances which which are the indicators of any fraudulent financial reporting. And suppose then in the next question we will see that what action we'll do. Suppose you are auditor of a entity, and in which you have cited a you are in a problem that you have uh, you have gathered some information which might affect the financials which have been submitted, and which needs to be which have been published but need to put in the EGM, because financials have been basically published, but EGM is scheduled later. So in that time frame, if you gather any information that is material, or that contains some material errors, so how would you deal in that particular time? So in that particular time, these would be my course of actions. You must have read these topics in your C final audit also, that I will immediately notify the senior management and assess the materiality and impact. I will document and evidence and collect the evidences. I will plan for the corrections. If it is possible, I will let management prepare the revised financials and audit the revised financial statements. I will communicate with relevant stakeholders. I will understand my regulatory compliance. Like these points you can answer. There is another question which says that if operating and investing activities cash flows are negative, but your financing is positive, what does this depict? It might be a startup company. It is raising funds from investing activity. It is raising funds from the financing activity, investing in the assets in the form of investing, and it might be incurring cash losses, or like burning cash. So this might be that situation. Now there are some other questions which are being asked by top FMCG companies only. So you can skip the questions if you are not having any interview schedule for those companies. And if you have the one, then you should definitely go through these questions. So firstly, your future vision. They ask that what can be the future vision, or what is the future vision of our company. This question is answered here from the Reliance perspective, that how the that what is the vision of Reliance, that where do we as an employee, by reading the annual report, see Reliance after 10 years. So by reading the annual report, I gathered this information that you can answer in this way. basically there are various parameters in which the vision or a growth of a company is measured. So for Reliance, it is measured on these parameters. Firstly, sustainability and environmental goals. Because integrated reporting we have to do, so you have to consider these sustainable goals also. So its target is to achieve the net zero, which is by 2035. It is to invest in renewable sources like solar, wind, and hydrogen. Then it seeks digital transformation. Expansion of Geo is the example of that, and drive innovation, the 5G technologies, which we can see presently. Then third is retail sector expansion. Reliance Retail, basically to strengthen the Reliance Retail's position in the market and make it the most profitable retail business and to expand the same. Then they seek the global expand. Then they seek the expansion in transition in O2C, because Reliance basically oil to chemical contributes the most of its revenue. So they are seeking transition because it is decreasing from last 2 3 years. So that's why they are seeking transition from the raw products to the value-added products, basically. And then they seek the global expansion to the other countries, high growth markets in Asia, Africa, and other emerging regions. They are seeking their financial objectives to make the more financial compliant entity and more basically utilizing the financial resources of the company and to make a social impact. So in basically 10 years, clients aim to solidify leadership in energy, digital, retail, while driving the sustainability and innovation. So like this, you can answer any company's vision. You can answer any company's vision based on the annual report of the company. Then this seek answers that why do you want to join the company. So you can answer this question based on the vision statement of the company, based on your eager to join that company, based on the profile that they are offering upon you, and consider the non-sustainable factors or sustainable factors also, like carbon zero, all these factors to like solidify the company. Then how do we they answer the question that what do you like the most about our company. So from Reliance perspective, you can answer it like it is innovative spirit, that it launched Geo, sustainable commitment, diversified portfolios among the various sectors, customer-centric approaches, follows global ambitions like that, and financial strength, obviously. And for company which you are giving interviews, so do read about any merger, demerger situations if it is going to happen in that company. Like recently, ITC hotel business got demerged. So if you are appearing for its interview, do prepare that also. Do read about that. Then you have to understand and go through the KPIs of that particular industry for which you are interviewing for. Firstly, like KPIs for ITC can be its revenue growth, its profitability. So its KPI is the net profit margin, EBITDA margin, and how its performance is measured. That has been described here. Third one is your market share. Fourth one is your return on equity and operational efficiency, innovation, new products. So these are basically KPIs which are applicable mostly to every company. So they measure their performance based on these KPIs. So please do make sure to prepare these KPIs if you are aiming for a good company and good position that organization. You should go through this business acumen also, not through this accountant's acumen. Then they ask the question that global market are changing, so how that will impact the ITC's overall perspective, overall market share of products. So this is a company specific answer. If you are aiming for the Reliance interviews, or if you are giving that, then you can go through this. Like for its FMCG product, supply chain disruptions might be there, export challenges, consumer demand. For agribusiness products, market access is the problem. For the paper boats business, for other reasons, for other businesses, it is mentioned there. So you can prepare that. Now, next question, that suppose you have been assigned a task of being a factory head of our plant. So how you will manage that? How you will manage the plant performance? So these are general answers. Use your business acumen or past knowledge which you have gathered. I'll understand the plant's operation, familiarize with the process. Then I will set the clear KPIs. I will develop a strong team, empower them, being a leader, and I will implement the efficient processes which is present there by brainstorming or effective lean manufacturing, whatever may be the case. I will monitor the performance. I will do the regular reviews and improve and foster a positive work environment. I will optimize the supply chain and inventory. I will implement the budget and cost management structure, and I will help the plan to be a compliant entity. Like this, you can answer. Now, next is situational question. Suppose you are you are there in an organization and you are heading that organization and there is a major labor strike. So how would you manage that? Firstly, I would follow the protocols. I would ensure the safety of the people present there, communicate to the relevant strikers as well as to the top management. Then I will understand the root cause of the same and review the documentation relating to same. I will allow the open line of communications, that not that close line, that hierarchy should be followed in that particular time. There should be open lines of communication of the every situation which is there. Then I will negotiate in the good faith of the company with that union, and I will develop a resolution plan that this type of that how this can be solved. And I will then, after resolution plan, I will resume the operations to the company and I will take the long term measures so that these such type of problems will not repeat in the futures. Now the next is situational, or basically a business acumen question is that suppose you have to set the market price of a product and a key market segment for a product. So what factors you will take into consideration? So basically, for setting the market price, there is a cost, there is a market research, there is a value proposition. You have to go through that for cost, production, marketing, distribution, overhead cost. For market research, competitor pricing, market trends, customer willingness to pay, perceived value, like that in value proposition. Then in target margins, what's the profit goal of the entity? What can be the break-even BEP analysis? Then what are the various compliance requirements that I will go through? Now, considering the key market segment, we'll do this analysis, demographic analysis, that what are the various demographics and present age, considering the age, gender, income levels, what the physiographic, psychographic analysis, like lifestyle of the people, values, beliefs. I will do a behavioral analysis also, geographic analysis also. So like this you can answer. Now next question, suppose you are heading an organization, there is a certain government rate in your organization. So how will you behave in that particular situation? So my immediate course of action in that would be, I would stay calm. I will verify the identification of the officials, follow the legal protocols, and I will document everything. Then I will not offer a bribe in that particular situation, because they will take you to a situation that you can basically handle the situation by offering them bribe, but you should not answer in that way because that is not ethically viable. So you should not answer it at all. Now, some post-date action I will follow. I will file a 4-month complaint or whatever with the senior management, whatever the situation may be, and I will also adopt the long-term actions for the organization. Now the question is that they ask company specific questions, that what are the various products offered by a company, what are the various market segments offers. So please do prepare that also. So that's all from case study questions. These questions are majorly asked by CFOs during, if you have any CFO round or a specific big company, so they ask these similar sort of questions. So if you are applying for that level, then you need to go through these questions, else you can go to other questions. That is fine for you. So thank you so much. This is your friend C. Jatin Agarwal.